There's a parking lot. You sit in for a minute longer than you need to. You've driven here 100 times. You know the door. You know the code. You know the smell of the hallway before you're even inside. And still, you sit. Engine off, hands on the wheel, giving yourself one more minute before you go in. Because the woman waiting for you in there used to be the one who knew you, the one you'd call when something good happened before you called anyone else, the one who could hear it in your voice, that half second of hesitation, and say, okay, tell me, what's really going on? And now you walk in, and she's glad to see you, mostly. But she asks you the same 3 questions in a loop. And somewhere in the visit, she calls you by your sister's name. Or she doesn't quite land on who you are. And you smile and you let it go. Because what else is there to do? You love her. That was never the question. But you drive home and there's this ache you don't have a word for because she's right there. She's alive. She can hold your hand. But you miss the old her so much you can barely breathe. She's your mother. And here's the part nobody warned you about. It's not the logistics that get you. You can do logistics. You've done logistics your whole life. It's the grief, the strange, disorienting kind of grief of losing someone who is still sitting right here in front of you. This story is so hard for us to wrap our heads around. And there are 1,000 different versions of the same story. It may not be the story of the grief you have of the relationship with your mom right now. It could be a similar grief of one with your child, a relationship that you thought you'd have, but you don't, or a future you thought your child would have, but now something's changed, or even something in your marriage or with yourself and your own body. We're going to dive into this particular type of grief and something that I find to be very, very helpful as a reframe for myself and my clients. So I want you to listen to the introduction and truly listen to the language of the different levels of thinking, and then meet me on the other side. Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Okay. If you felt something when I read that kind of imaginary movie scene to you, I want you to stay with that feeling, because I really don't know anywhere else where we're having this type of conversation than in the Soul-u-tions Labs, my membership for midlife women. I have spent the last several days in conversations, not that one. That one, it was not one that we specifically talked about in the Soul-Shine Labs, because I don't want to reveal those conversations in this podcast. But that conversation touches upon the theme of, 5 different women shared with totally different factual scenarios, but the same pattern underneath it. And then this exact theme has resurfaced in my own life this week and in my one-on-one clients' lives. So hence, while you are getting to hear about it in today's podcast episodes. So while this example is of a woman sitting in a parking lot grieving a mother who she's lost before she has actually lost her mother. Another woman may be figuring out why she isn't invited to a party this summer, a family celebration that others are invited to. Another one may have a good marriage, one that works on paper, but she's trying to figure out the last time she felt really chosen by her husband. And, another one might be someone standing in a dressing room under those terrible fluorescent lights, looking at a body that used to look like a supermodel who is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and she doesn't recognize it anymore. Different women, different rooms, different heartbreaks. And yet, underneath it all, every single one of them, the same quiet ache. This isn't what I pictured my life would be like. This isn't what I thought my relationship with my mom would be at this time. I didn't think I'd be the daughter watching my parent disappear a little more each visit while they're still right there in front of me. I didn't think I'd be the woman who looks in the mirror and doesn't recognize the body that used to do what I asked it to do. I didn't think I'd be the wife in a marriage that works, that functions, but somewhere along the way stopped feeling like it was one I was choosing. And here's what I need you to hear. You are not broken if you're that woman. You are not failing if you're that woman. And you're not ungrateful. You're not a bad mother. And you're not behind. You are actually grieving something real. You've just never been given the words or the information or the understanding to even know to call it grief. So let me ask you the question this whole episode turns on. What are you grieving right now in your life? What thing that isn't the thing that you thought it was going to be like now? Because I'm going to suggest something that might surprise you. I don't think you're grieving the thing you think you're grieving. I think you're grieving, or you think you're grieving your child, your marriage, your body, or your parent. But just stay with me. What if you're not grieving the real person? What if you're grieving the version of them that you've been carrying in your mind for years? What if you're grieving the picture, the one where the kid is close and easy and calls you on Sunday, the one where the marriage stays a romance, the one where you age and your body just cooperates, the one where your parent stays the strong one, the safe one, the one who knows you? You're not grieving what was. You're grieving what wasn't. And that's the kind of grief that nobody has a name for, which is why it makes you feel a little crazy, a little unsettled, because how do you mourn something that never actually happened? There's a phrase that I learned in the hospital, 3 words, and I find them to be so useful in these situations with this type of grief. I'm going to tell you what they are, but not quite yet. Because first, I want to tell you about a ship. A ship that you watch from the shore. Most of us don't even know that we're doing it. It's like an outline in the mist or the fog at dusk. And you see it as you're scanning the horizon. It's the ghost ship of the life you thought was going to come sailing into your life. It's the ghost ship of the relationships that you thought that you were going to have with each of these very important people. But it didn't quite work out that way. And we call it the ghost ship because it haunts us. It haunts us every time we talk to that parent or that partner or that child, or we look at ourselves in the mirror. We don't just see what is, we see it in comparison to the picture of what we thought it was going to be, and we feel what it isn't. And then we do something that is really makes it so much harder. We start to think to ourselves, well, I must have gotten it wrong. I must have gotten something mixed up along the way, or I must have messed something up along the way, because if I was a good enough mother, my kids would turn out happy and close to me and want to be around me more often. If I was a good enough wife, my husband would still want me. If I was only disciplined enough, then my body would look like it used to. So that isn't nice. I mean, it's just such a hard way to live in our own minds. And it's so hurtful to our own hearts. And it's kind of like this thing that we imagined, but what it never included was a person on the other side who also agreed to that version of what we thought it was going to be. It's like a contract that we signed when we were younger, and nobody ever told us that the other party didn't agree to the terms of it. Because here's the thing, your child has their own life and their own brain and their own 20s to survive. When a grown kid pulls away, they're usually not doing it to punish anyone. They're trying to figure out who they are apart from the people who made them. And that's not a betrayal of you or a reflection of anything you've done wrong. That's the most normal developmental thing there is. And your marriage was built when everyone was busy, when the house was full and the calendar was full and there wasn't time to look at it. There was only time to manage around it. And now it's quiet and you're looking at it for the first time in years. And that's not the marriage failing. That's the marriage finally being seen and prioritized. And your body has carried you through everything, through the pregnancies, the all-nighters, the seasons you ran on fumes. And it hasn't broken its promise to you. It has kept every promise you needed. But now it's asking for something back. And your parent hasn't abandoned you. They're doing the one thing every living thing eventually does, and we don't want to think about. And it's breaking your heart in slow motion. It's the thing that none of us ever want to allow our minds to imagine. And it's the most human grief there is. So here's what I want you to feel right now. Not shame, but relief. No wonder. No wonder I'm so tired. No wonder I feel like I'm failing. I've been measuring my real, actual life against a ghost ship that was never going to come true, and then blaming myself for the gap. You're not failing. That version of your life just was always a dream. It was never real. It was something you imagined. But that picture that you've been waiting for, if you just stay stuck in waiting for it to change, then you end up missing, the possibilities in the relationships that you actually have. All right. So back to those 3 words that I told you that I learned in the hospital and that are so helpful in this scenario. Okay. Years ago, and I know some of you know this story, my son Brennan was diagnosed with leukemia on his 7th birthday. And our whole world, the one we've pictured for ourselves as a family and for him and for our marriage and our careers, it just stopped in that one day. It changed, it shifted, it became something totally different. And we had no idea how to navigate it. I was standing in the hospital room really early on, and so was Turner was there with me, and Brennan and the brothers, and this young woman came in, the physician assistant, and she looked at me and us, and she said in this kind, very factual and somewhat hopeful way, "This is your new normal." She wasn't being cold, but she was handing me a life raft, and she knew she was handing me a life raft. These 3 words, your new normal. You have a new normal. What she was telling me with those 3 words, that the old life isn't coming back, and that this new life is the real life that you have. We are not going to pretend that this hasn't happened, and we can't pretend. It isn't helpful to pretend, to say, okay, I just don't want this to be real. There is solid ground in the actual reality of what is, and in accepting that reality, this this is your new normal. This is something that you can build upon with the actual elements, circumstances that you're working with. And so I think, what shifted in me in that moment when she shared that was it shifted me to a place of agency. And what do I mean by agency? Something that I had control of. I didn't have control that I had a new normal, but I did have control in meeting this new life that we suddenly found ourselves in and reorienting myself within that. I went from thinking, my child has cancer, and sinking into the despair in that sentence to, oh, well, this is our new normal. And you can hear the difference, right? What am I going to do? My kid has cancer. To, oh, this is our new normal. There was something in that idea of this is normal versus this isn't normal. This is my normal. This is our normal. It's a new normal. And the newness is why it feels strange. And there's this idea, I talk about it a lot, and it bears repeating all the time. But the moment that you stop fighting your reality, that you stop needing it to be different than it is, that you stop focusing on what you thought it was going to be and feeling the contrast between what you thought it was going to be and what it is, that's the moment you get your energy back. The energy that you were spending on standing on the shore, looking for that ghost ship to come, from the horizon and land and pick you up and take you with it. That energy of waiting, of wanting it to be different, of thinking this isn't normal. Normal people don't celebrate Christmas in the hospital. When you go from doing that, it is like you just stop fighting it and you get your energy back. And you need that energy to build the life in the new normal. You need that energy sitting in that parking lot before you go in to see a mother who doesn't remember your name anymore. You need that energy to show up with the kind of love that you want to give to that woman who was there for you all those years, but simply isn't there mentally in that capacity anymore. Now, I want to be clear about something. A new normal is not, let's look on the bright side of things. It's not about being Pollyanna. It doesn't erase the loss. In fact, it does the opposite. It honors it. It says this is genuinely different from what you wanted. There is a real loss here, and we're not going to skip over it or gloss over it. We're going to name it. And then, given that it's true, that it's actually happening, we are going to ask some empowering questions. What do I want to do now? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up given this new normal? All right, so here's one practice I want to give you today. Put your hand over your heart. and say the truest, simplest thing, not the grateful thing or the positive thing or the spiritual thing, just the honest thing. This hurts. This is not what I pictured. And I miss the life I thought I'd have. That's it. That's the whole first move. You're not fixing anything. You're not reframing yet. You're just telling the truth to your body, to the part of you that held on to this dream of what it was going to be like, the dream that has just been shattered. You're just telling the truth to the one person, the part of you who's been waiting to hear it. This is the part most of us skip. We feel the grief arise and we slap a gratitude on it before it can finish. At least he's healthy. At least we have each other. At least. And the grief unheard just goes underground and turns into exhaustion. So remember, always first, hand over heart. This isn't what I expected. This is hard. This hurts. And just let it be a real loss. And then slowly comes the question, this kind of question that will give you your life back. And it's the same question I've asked every woman in the Soul-Shine Labs this week and all the people in my one-on-one practice. And I'm asking it and giving it to you now. Given that this is my actual life, how do I want to show up in it? Not the life you pictured, but the life you are actually in. The woman in the parking lot isn't walking in to get her mother back. Her mother is not going to see her walk through the door and automatically lift her arms up and call her name again. That mother who knew her, that one isn't coming back. And standing on the shore, just staring and thinking about this wasn't what it was supposed to be, isn't going to change any of that. Instead, you put your hand over your heart and you grieve that, and then you walk into the room and you hug the woman who is standing there, who really was the woman who would be greeting you if her mind was still with her. And you hug her, the part of her that is still her, knowing that that part of her is still there, even though you can't feel it. And that's the move, the whole thing. And it is this idea that we all are haunted by the ghost ships, but we can stop the intentional haunting of ourselves and just name it for what it is, a ghost ship, and recognize the new normal and claim it for ourselves. And then ask, who do I want to be given this new, unexpected, potentially devastating, or just slightly hurtful situation that I didn't expect myself to be in? That's where I'm going to leave you with this week. Just this reframing, this ability, this your own sense of agency. The same gift that PA handed me all those years ago. So, welcome to your new normal. This is your new normal. And what are you going to do with it? That was a good one, my friends. At least for me, it helped me a lot, and I hope it helps you. And please share it with a friend who you think is struggling with something that shifted in her own life that is different from what she thought it was going to be like, so that she will know that she's not alone and that she hasn't done anything wrong, and that perhaps she can experience the same relief that I have felt and my clients have felt and the women in the Soul Shine Labs have felt when they are able to name this and honor the grief and then reorient themselves into the new normal. Until next time.
'Cause I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me.